Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you haven't been here before, I'm Jamie. I read a lot of books, a ton of books. And we're playing a game today. So, for the hardest reading challenge you have ever done, there is a prompt that requires that you pick somebody else's TBR game and try it. So, I've picked a TBR game from a booktube friend, Leandra at Leandra the TBR 0. Her cat and mouse game that she introduced earlier this year. I don't know if she's still playing it. I know she did at least twice, but then TAR happened and I'm not sure where she's at now. But she probably is. She's way more disciplined than I am. I admire that. Yeah, so maybe some of her discipline will rub off on me. We'll try the game, see if it helps. I don't have a 52 card deck handy, so I had to do a little bit of an adjustment for the cards that I could find. I decided that rather than try and figure out how my tarot deck would cooperate as a 52 card deck, because I have a hard time figuring out on some of them what they're supposed to be anyway. Let's just not. I have an Uno deck. It has numbers. It works for this kind of game. So what I did is basically her game. So we have the house and the person doing the game. And I have a book. The house has a book. My book is maybe the book I'd rather read out of those two books, but there's something similar about them that pairs those two books. If the card I pick beats the card the house picks, my book wins. If the card the house picks wins over my card, then their book wins and gets to be on the TBR. And there were special rules for different cards in Leandra's version of her game. So because Uno is all just number cards except for the skip bow, I decided the skip bow, if I draw the skip bow card, both books are on the TBR. So I get my book, but I also get their book. And if they get the skip bow card, then neither book is on the TBR. And I am also still honoring the TBR from the Dewey's readathon stack that I made during an earlier video. I am going to try and finish those. But I have included a couple of the books from that stack in this game. If one of those books is rejected, if it doesn't win the TBR, it's still part of the active TBR for the Dewey's game, but only until the end of this month. Whereas this TBR that I'm making now in this video is active starting tonight and running through the end of August, at least. So those books, if I don't finish them by the end of this month, they get put aside until later. So we'll see what happens. And I will show you, try not to get seasick, I will bring you over to show you everything all laid out. You get a little bit of a tour of where I'm living. And my computer is plugged in, so this is fun. You might get to see some cats too, because there you can see in the background there. Let's see. There we go. There's the kitten's house. Yes, he got put away. He was behaving badly, knocking whole stacks of books off of things, which is not cool. And let's bring you down to the floor and tilt that. That is what we're working with. a grid of 4 by 5. So I've already drawn the cards, and the top card is mine and the bottom card is the house. And I'm going to take us back to the desk to show off what all the books are that I selected, because this is such a weird angle to be doing constantly. But I'll show you guys the books again, and the cat, the baby Lou cat. Baby Lou. Hi, dude. Okay, what are you doing? Alright. Baby Lou's the one I can't touch. But he's still a buddy. He likes me. I think he thinks he's being super friendly. By his standards, the fact that he wants to sit in the same room with me is super friendly. By my standards, I can't touch the cat. And I've touched his back, I think, once, and his tail a couple times. That is it. And he sniffed me so that I could feel his nose a couple times, which is huge for him. Anyway, so I'm going to bring up a couple stacks at a time, and with their cards, so that I can show them off one group at a time to show you what the draws are and which wins. And I did this pretty fast when I set it up, so I don't actually remember which ones won. I just laid it all out, and then we're going to find out together what the results are and what my TBR is going to look like for next month, in addition to the arcs that I'm reading anyway, because it is ARC August and I'm a team leader for HRCYED, which you should join because we're going to win. But yeah, so in addition to that, these will be the physical TBR that I'll be working on through August, and maybe until I finish them. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to not get to do another physical TBR till they're done, because it's not a lot of books. So let me grab the first stacks and let's get started. Alright, so I grabbed 4 sets. The first stack actually illustrates the skip bow rule, because these are the cards. Top card is mine, bottom card is the house. Skip bow is on top, 6 is on the bottom. Because skip bow is on the top, my card, both books are on the TBR. So what are these books? My book was Talking to Ourselves by Andre Newman. I don't know anything about it. It appealed to me. It's short. I adopted it off of a free cart. And I'm definitely interested. The other book, the house book, which because I got that skip bow card is also on the TBR, is this one. This one's one from the Bag of Books sale. I got it just because it's obviously a small press or indie book. Without knowing much about it, it doesn't appeal to me nearly as much. I didn't pick it specifically because it called to me. I just got it because it was in that category, and, you know. So I get to read it because it's part of the TBR because I got the skip bow. So, let's see. Of course, I would drop the card. Hold on. Okay. Picked up the card. Alright, so the next set. My card is an 8. Their card was a 6. The books for this draw, mine is Kitchen by Banana Yoshimoto, which is on the box all list and is very nice and mercifully short. And I've heard good things. The books I don't have to read because I got an 8 and they got a 6 and I beat them are a pair of books. They're short, they're together. Manifesto of the Communist Party by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, and 4 Essays on Philosophy by Mao Zedong. So I do not have to read these little pamphlet-y books in this TBR. They get to be put away for later. Do I mind? Not really. I'm not really in the mood for them, but eventually I'll get to them. Eventually. Not in the next month, though. So Kitchen is on the TBR. Let's try and not drop the cards. There we go. Put that on the TBR. Next stack, we have I got a 9. The house got a 10. So the house wins. So this is one where that Dewey's reading exception kind of applies, because my book was The Stone Diaries by Carol Shields, which was on my Dewey's TBR. If I finish this book before the end of this month, then I can still read this book. Because it's on the Dewey's TBR. But it's not on the official TBR for this game, because the house pick, The Last Summer of You and Me by Anne Bashevis, is the one that won. I don't know why I have it. I just have it. So I might as well. It's not a book that I expect I'm going to like, but I might like it. You never know. I've never read anything by her. I don't know why I don't think I'd like it, so maybe. And then the next set, I drew a 5. House drew a 4. I win. Barely. My book is The Talisman by Stephen King and Peter Straub. So that's on the TBR. And the book I don't have to read for August is my reread of the omnibus edition of His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman. Both of these, I had started them and gotten about the same into them. That's what makes them similar, and that they're both fat, about the same length. But I do not need to read this in August. I'm thinking maybe October, because I'm just not really feeling it all that much. Yeah, but I will get to it, because I want it to be gone by the end of the year. And since I decided I didn't give it a fair shot, I need to reread it. It's going to happen this year. Let me grab the next stack. I'll be right back. Okay, next set. So these ones are paperback kind of thriller crime books, 2 of them. I drew a 7. The house drew an 8. So the house wins. In this pair, my book was Tooth and Nail by Ian Rankin, which does not get to join the TBR, sadly. The house book was one I got recently off the free cart, The Blue Mirage by Joseph D. McNamara. I've never read anything by him, so I guess I will, because it's now on my TBR. Next category is paperback, kind of classic authors, but maybe not the book everybody knows them for. In this one, I drew a 10, and the house drew an 11. The house wins again by 1 point. So not fair. So my choice was Satan in Gore by Isaac Bashevis Singers. So this one is the same author as the like The Master in the Cathedral or something like that. It was an epic novel that was split into 2 parts to publish in the English translation, and recently they put them back together all in one book. Anyway, I will get back to it and tell you guys more about it later. This is a short book by the same author that I do not get to read for next month because the house won, and I will be reading The Professor's House by Willa Cather. Yay! I do want to get to it, so not terribly sad, but it was not my pick. Alright, next pair is kind of Hispanic, kind of Western U.S. sort of thing. Both books showed up at the bookstore as a result of what I'm guessing was a DEI call. So they're kind of in the same family that way. For these books, I got a 3 and the house got a 10. So the house once again won. This is getting to be a pattern. Not cool. But my book was Star Over Adobe by Dorothy L. Pillsbury, which just looks kind of cool. I was intrigued. I also got it fairly recently. And I got this one fairly recently. This one is Once Upon a Quinceañera, Coming of Age in the U.S. by Julia Alvarez. So this is a memoir by Julia Alvarez. So I'm not upset. Both were good books. So I'll be reading the memoir. And then the last set in this stack, both are hardback crime fiction. In this stack, I got a 9. The house got a 2. I win. Yay! Finally. So my pick that goes on the TBR is Rather Be the Devil by Ian Rankin. And the house pick that is not on the TBR is Manhattan Nocturne by Colin Harrison. So this one is not on the TBR and I can put it away. So I'm going to grab the next stack. I'll be right back. Okay, so this next pair of books, they are both crime fiction paperbacks. I got an 11 and the house got a 9. So I win this one. What was at stake for this one? My book is Inquiry by Dick Francis. So that goes on the TBR. The house book that gets put back is Blood Dreams by Kay Hooper. So this gets put away. I've read Dick Francis before. I like him. I've never read Kay Hooper, so that would be a new author for me. But I get to read the familiar. Yay. And then the next stack, they're both kind of new agey vibes. Yeah, it's about all that pairs them together. I got a 7, house got a 5. So I win by 2 points. Yay. So my book is The Tree of Life by Hugh Nissenson. Just kind of new agey vibe. And the books I don't have to read, it's a pair of books that are indie self-pub books. White Dove and The Travelers, both by Zona Crabtree. So I will get to them, just not for this TBR. Just put them up there so they don't fall off. All right. Next books. I got a 3. House got a skippo. So neither one of these books is on my TBR for this next month. So which books are both being rejected? Joyce Carol Oates' Black Girl, White Girl, and Jubilee by Margaret Walker. So both of these books get put back. I will probably get to Jubilee in September because it is one that I want to read for a project. Realistically, I don't know if I have time to get to that project properly in August. So it's not terrible. Both of these get put back though. And then we have one more pair of books in this stack. And in this stack, I drew the skippo, and the house drew a 4. Doesn't matter if they drew a 4. I got the skippo. Both books are on the TBR. So that will be Killing Commendatore by Haruki Murakami and Guardian by John Saul. Only thing that makes them both similar is that they're both the same size hardback book. So I'm going to put these two rejects away and get the next books. I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. This next pair of books are actually both ARCs, or at least books that I got as Goodreads giveaways. I think one of them's an ARC and one of them's not, or something like that. Anyway, they are both in the same category for me because I got both of them through Goodreads giveaways. That I'm trying to work my way through all of those books and not have that category anymore in my books. I keep entering and not getting any books, and to a point where I'm kind of wondering if the algorithm that they're using is excluding me or something. I don't know. Probably not. But the number of things I've entered this year relative to the number that I've won is ridiculously weird. And I get a lot of my ARCs through NetGalley now anyway, to a point where I have more than enough to read and don't need Goodreads anymore. So I'm going to finish them all off and not worry about it anymore. So both of these books are in that category. I drew a 5. The house drew a 3. So I win by 2 points. My book was Dead Letters by Kate Nolan Leach. So that one's the one that gets to go on the TBR. And the one that gets to go back on the shelf is The Age of Treachery by Gavin Scott. So this one does not get to be on the TBR right now. And I'm kind of, interested in both about the same. So, yeah, that works. The next pair, look what's on top. Skip-Bo. Since it's on top, both books stay. The house drew a 10, which would have been hard to beat anyway. So, yeah, both books stay, which means I will be reading Famous Trials by John Mortimer, which is From Murder to Treason, the sensational courtroom dramas which make up legal history. So that one's fun. And the other book, which is also on the TBR, because of that Skip-Bo, is Blood at the Root, A Racial Cleansing in America by Patrick Phillips. Not depressing at all. Yeah. So that should be fun. Yeah, it's not a big TBR at all. You'll see. Next pair is hardback books that are crime fiction theme here. Yeah, maybe. I like crime fiction. So I drew a 4. The house drew a 10. So the house wins on this one. My pick was Rebecca's Tale by Sally Bowman, which I'm guessing is a retelling or extension of Rebecca. But I'm not going to find out in this TBR because I didn't win. So the one I will be reading is one I got recently, The Angel Tapes, a Blade Mackin mystery by David Keeley. So I will read it. It might be good. I did bring it home after all. And then the last in this stack is 2 murder mysteries that I have started. And I intend to finish both, and I want to finish both this year. Probably don't have time to do both in August with the rest of these. Anyway, I drew a 10. The house drew a 3. So I win by a lot of points. My book is Just One Evil Act by Elizabeth George, which is the book I picked for one of my 100 group books for the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do. So it'll be nice to finish this and see where I'm at to finish that prompt. The book that I won't be reading in this TBR is one that's been on TBRs off and on for a while and I still never finish it. The Dime by Kathleen Kent. I don't know what it is about it. I get a little ways in and then I don't finish it and then I get back to it months later and have to start over because I don't remember what happened. So it's going away at the end of this year. I'm going to try and finish it. If not, I'm going to figure out where I can get to before I DNF. It's going away. This is getting ridiculous. But it's not going to be on the TBR for this one. So let me put the rejects away and grab the next stack. Okay, we got the last 4 pairs of books with their cards. So these ones will close out the game and I'll show you what we've got. So the first pairs, all right, the first pairs, it's books with red on the cover. My card is a 3. The house got an 8. The house wins. I didn't choose to do any draw a card to change the outcome thing, although that is an option in Leandra's game. So I'm going to set this pair aside because I wanted to read Where You Once Belonged by Kent Harif, and the other book in this pair is Dead Ringer by Michael Thesson. Obviously a self-published book that I'm not terribly excited about in comparison to the Kent Harif book, who's one of my favorite authors. So this is one I was thinking about what I would do for a draw a different card option. So I'm going to set these 2 aside. We'll work this out once we get the rest of the TBR. All right. So next pair, I got a 7. House got a 5. I win. These are both books with kind of an assemblage of things in a sack on the cover. So the one that I picked was The Foursome by Troon McAllister. Don't know why it appealed to me. I'm not even a golfer. I don't like golf. But it appealed to me. The other one is The Undomestic Goddess. This was the house pick that lost. So I don't have to read this for a while. Again, I don't even know why I have it. Although I did like the Shopaholic, Confessions of a Shopaholic. I liked it. Let me see where I can stuff this where it's not in the way. Go right there. Okay. So I don't have to read it right now. I will get to it. I have to admit I kind of like her writing, but my lifestyle and the lifestyles of the people in her books are so different that I have a hard time relating. And some of the things that they find important are so trivial to me. So, I don't know. But if I'm in a good mood, it might be a good time to tackle more Sophie Kinsella books. We'll see. For now, I can move on. Next cards. I got a 10. House got a 1. So I win. Yay. My pick is Tales of the Peculiar by Ransom Riggs. And the house pick is one that I got over halfway through, so I could count it for a sightseeing prompt for Tar, but then I didn't get around to finishing it by the end of the month to be done with the book. And that is A Children's Bible by Lydia Millay. I was really enjoying it. And I had too many other books to read, and by the time I finished the month, then I had other books to read and was no longer thinking about it. So I will have to restart it because there was too much when I tried to pick up where I left off that I was like, I don't really remember this well enough. Enough that I probably could pick up where I left off, but I'd rather go back at least a quarter of the book, towards the front of the book again. So I might just start over by the time I get back to it, because it was really good. I can see why this is a National Book Award finalist. So I'm not upset that I have to put it off, because I can just read it as an entire book later, instead of trying to remember where I left off and feeling guilty about having to go back, and oh my gosh. All right, so that one is part of this TBR. We'll put it there for now. And then the last pair of books, here are the cards. So I got a 6, House got an 11. They definitely won. My pick was Good Harbor by Anita Diamant. And the house pick is Hard Laughter by Anne Lamott. So this is the one that wins because the house won. They're both kind of women's literary fiction with names that remind me of each other when you try and say them. So French-ish names. So Anne Lamott, Hard Laughter. Alright, this one's the one that's a reject. Now, I've got these cards all stacked up here from all the different draws. I have more Skippo cards, but I'm just going to use the ones that are already stacked up here. These are all the cards that I drew, me and the house. So I'm going to stack them all together. I'm going to break the deck a few times. Make it nice and random. I can't shuffle properly because I don't have the dexterity, but I can randomize cards pretty well just by breaking the deck and not always putting them all together in the same place. I don't know any of these terms, but they'll be nice and random by the time they're done. So, there we go. Nice and random. We don't have all the cards because obviously this is just the ones we've already pulled before. So, I'm going to pull a card, and the price for my getting to read the book I want out of the 2 books that I didn't like the outcome. Remember, Kent Harif versus Dead Ringer. So I can keep Kent Harif and Dead Ringer. So basically, as if I got a Skippo. But the card that I pull, I also have to use that number to count down from the top of the closest stack to me, which I think is either this one or that one. Yeah. So, that one's closer. Alright, so counting down from the top, that many books, and whichever book that number lands on, that's the book I have to add to the TBR, sight unseen, in order to keep Kent Harif in the TBR. So, it's a steep price. I have to read both instead of just the one I want, and an additional book. But I think it's worth it. because I want to read the Kent Harif book, and I am not going to get to it this month. So, let's go with it. Is this strictly Leandra's game? At this point, we've departed a little bit from it. But hopefully with her blessing. Let's see what the card is. And if it's a skippo, we'll have to figure out what that means. 10. So I have to count 10 books down from the top of this stack. As it is now. And whichever book that is also on the TBR. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Alright. And the stack is mostly crime paperbacks. Ones that I don't have full series, but they might be from series. So this one is The Devil's Acolyte by Michael Jecks. So this is now also on the TBR, in order for me to be able to keep Kent Harif in the TBR. So I think it's worth it. Alright, so we've got a TBR, which I will have to show you in 2 stacks because they're pretty big. So let me stack them up so that they're less precarious, and I'll show you the stacks. Okay, so my TBR, these are the mass market paperback books on the TBR. There's 4 of them, which is nice. I thought about trying to do a challenge to read more of these, because they seem to collect a lot in my books. And they are small, and part of why they don't get read is because they are small. So I end up prioritizing the hardbacks because they take up more room, and I get more shelf space back if I finish a hardback. So over time, I just keep hoarding these. So at least 4 of them should be done by the end of August. Or if not, I think I might stick to finishing this TBR before I get to do another TBR. Because it would be nice to actually be done with some of these books. So these are the mass market paperbacks. And that was being very incomplete here. Professor's House, The Blue Mirage, Enquiry, and The Devil's Acolyte. And 3 of these are crime fiction. All right. Then we have our trade paperbacks. And these include fiction and nonfiction. So I've got Blood at the Root, Famous Trials, Dead Letter, which is crime fiction, Dead Ringer, also crime fiction, Where You Once Belonged, which is literary fiction, Hard Laughter, which I believe is literary fiction, The Tree of Life, which is literary fiction, maybe in translation, I don't remember. The Foursome, general fiction, maybe literary, maybe crime fiction, I have no idea on that one. The Last Summer of You and Me by Isaac Bashevis. Kitchen by Banana Yoshimoto. And Lamb Bright Saviors by Robert Vivian. So these, there's becoming more of them. So it's nice that I'm getting a lot of them done because, yeah, this seems to be the format everybody is doing now. Anyway, so I'm happy about these. There's a lot of them. Some of them I haven't thought about since I acquired them. So this kind of game, that's kind of part of the fun, is I really hadn't thought about these books, and maybe they'll turn out to be amazing. All right, so let's put these. Put these over here. Okay. And I have two other paperbacks, but they're larger format paperbacks. And that's the Tales of the Peculiar and Just One Act. So, kind of fantasy, literary fantasy, and crime fiction. So that's nice. And then the hardbacks, which I do have a decent stack of hardbacks. So we have The Angel Tapes, Guardian by John Saul, Killing Commendatore by Haruki Murakami, Rather Be the Devil by Ian Rankin, Once Upon a Quinceañera by Julia Alvarez, The Talisman by Stephen King and Peter Straub, and Talking to Ourselves by Andre Newman. So, that is the TBR for from now through August. And I can still work on the Dewey's TBR. So, as long as it was in that stack, I can still be reading it until the end of this month. And then anything that was part of that TBR is no longer the TBR. So, yeah. Let's see if I can maintain this discipline for at least a couple weeks. I'm so bad at that part. I'm good at the reading of the books, just maybe not the books that I said I was going to read. So, yeah. It should be a fun experiment. And I will do updates on how this went as I do my weekly reading updates, which I am going to do. We're going to have weekly reading updates. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So I'm thinking about doing this like on a day of the week instead of on a like the 7th day of the month thing. Because I was doing like the 7th, 14th, 21st, 28th, and then a wrap up for the whole month with whatever I missed. Does that happen? No, not really. Usually it ends up being one in the middle, one at the end, maybe a few things here and there. Right. And, you know, things happen. But it would be nice to try something different and see if I can get on a better, more consistent schedule. Because when you read as much as I do, it's nice to not have to talk about so many books in one video. Yeah, I know. So maybe we try for the month of August doing weekly, but like Friday night or something. Like record on Friday night. I think I could manage that. Because I'm trying to think when I don't find sprints very often. And there will be sprints associated with the ARC August. So this may be subject to change if there are sprints that I want to be guesting on. Because I like guesting on sprints. I don't like doing all the fiddly stuff of hosting them myself. Because right now, I'm either technically challenged or my computer is, or some combination of the two. So, without having more money to throw at it, I will host sprints. I will, but it's not a priority right now. But hopping on other people's sprints and keeping people company and chatting in the middle of the night, that's so much fun. So, if the sprint schedule gets in the way of doing videos on Friday nights, I'll figure out a better time. But otherwise, I think Friday night would be a good time to do a weekly wrap-up. Here's what we've done so far. So I'll do that for August. See how that goes. If Friday night doesn't work, Saturday night would be a close second. Both of those seem to be evenings when I have a hard time finding sprints when I want to be in sprints. So I might as well do my recording when I'm not otherwise occupied watching sprints. So that's the logic anyway. We'll see how it goes. So I'm going to finish this off and get it uploaded and then get back to my reading because I still would like to finish a bunch of those books from the Dewey's TBR. And I have a few more days to go. I did get my blanket in at the county fair, so I was there today. This has been a whirlwind of a weekend because I did Dewey's, so I started Dewey's on Friday night around 6 p.m. Didn't sleep, stayed up the whole 24 hours and then some. Partway through that, I had a shift at the bookstore, so I did my shift, came back, finished the readathon, and then did get to sleep. It was very nice. But then on Sunday, so today, I had to go to the county fair with my stitching group to enter our projects in. So I didn't finish a third project. It was just the blanket and my chicken, which I'll have to show him off when her off. She's a hen. Yeah. I will have to show her off when I get her back because right now she's at the fair. So I just had 2 projects this time. But yeah, now I'm done with that. That's another thing that I could check off that is done. I don't have to worry about it. And so now I'm able to focus on my books and just typical bookstore stuff for this week anyway, and see what happens next. So I'm going to sign off, get this video up, and I will check in with you guys in the next video. I'll see some of you randomly on sprints elsewhere, I'm sure. And hopefully everyone is having a great last third of their reading month. Talk to you soon, guys. Bye!